morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to my channel. I'm Fiona. So today, as you saw from the title, I'm going to be giving you 15 things to do before you move abroad. So this is your moving abroad checklist. If you don't already know, I am currently in Africa. As of May this year, I was living in China for 5 years. So I think that I can give some really good tips on what to do before you take the leap and become an expat yourself. So, number one, lists. Whether you create a list on your phone, on your tablet or any of your devices, or you're like me, pen or pencil and piece of paper, start creating lists. You'll thank yourself for doing it. Lists, especially if you have a family or you have a lot of belongings, lists are going to be really helpful for you. If you live very minimal and it's just yourself and you can just pick up yourself and you pack your backpack and go, then a list may not necessarily be useful for you. Number two, research. Research where you're moving to. Really important. What is available in the new country, town, city that you are moving to? Will you be able to do the hobbies that you've done or have been doing in your current home country? Will you be able to access the food? I'm vegan, so I want to know, is there places that I can go on a Saturday and go and have a meal? I use, actually, when I travel, just in general, I use Happy Cow. And Happy Cow is it's wonderful because anywhere in the world, it gives you lists of different places of vegan and vegetarian options. So do your research. Also, you can find out about the climate. And also, again, as a black woman, I want to know, can I get my hair done? Can I go and get a treatment? Nails, manicure, general beauty things for men and women. Make sure you check those things out. Most of my research that I did, I'd say 90% of the information I received and the research that I did was on YouTube. I watched lots of YouTube vlogs and I got a lot of useful information. And what was interesting as well, somebody was telling their story on YouTube. I've been listening to their experience and they would say something else which would lead me on to search for some other additional information and add things to my list as well. If you have any medical treatment going on at the moment, or when you are due to move abroad and something that is going to be consistent, I would really encourage you to research and see if those same services are available. If your employer is moving you over, speak to your employer, because maybe your employer can identify a provider that can help you to continue your treatment. It's really important to do your research. Number three, organize. Make sure you're organized. Again, if you've got just a backpack and you can get up and go, you won't have much to organize, but this is for people who've got a little bit more than just a backpack. And for those who've got a family, and for people who want to kind of organize themselves a little bit more before they take the leap and move abroad for a few years. So making sure, sorry, this truck's going by. So belongings. So look at what you have at the moment. Put things in kind of piles. I did this before I moved. What am I storing? What am I selling? What am I taking? What am I throwing away? I still have a home in England, so I was able to store my belongings in my loft. And if you're keeping your home where you are, then you can store your things in your garage or somewhere in your house where it's going to be safe if you're going to go back at some point to retrieve them. So look at your belongings, just essential things. I know you're going to look at everything and say that you need to take absolutely everything, but you can't unless you really want to, and it's not necessary. Look for a tenant. Make sure that if you are, and this is for people like myself who are going to move on and rent their property, look for a tenant as soon as you know that you're going to move. Make sure that you deal with any repairs in your property. If your property needs painting, if you need to change something, for instance, you need to get a new washing machine, get the new washing machine, get rid of the old one. So do all the things that you need to do in preparation for your new tenant. Pay your bills as well. Pay any bills. Ideally, pay all your utility bills before you go. Pay the up and coming house payment before you go. So at least when your new tenant goes in, they're starting from scratch. And the final thing on organising yourself is make sure that when you do have a new tenant and when you are kind of getting ready to hand over your property to your tenant, you contact the utility companies to request to have your utility bills and statements sent to you electronically. Sorry. Okay, confirmation. And some of this is to do if you're moving with an employer, moving over with your employer, or moving over with a new employer. So with your employer, just confirm that all your flights are going to be booked. I mean, I've never heard any stories of people having any difficulties when it came to moving over with their current employer or a new employer taking them overseas. But do check with flights, there's no changes. Check who's picking you up and try and get their details. Check where you're staying. In some instances, you may not necessarily go directly to your apartment. You may go to a hotel first. So find out that information. This is also information you can share with your family so they know where you are and they know what's happening. Check your insurance, really important. When I was in China, the insurance that we had covered us everywhere in the world except for in America. So do check your insurance, okay? If you want to move abroad and you get insurance but it doesn't cover bungee jumping, if you go to some country, you'll have to foot the rest of the bill. Find out about your work attire, find out about what paperwork you need to bring with you. You might need to bring the hard copies, so find out if you need to do that. Just confirm everything and take them with you. As for insurance, as I said again, confirm with the country that you're moving to what's relevant in terms of insurance. Is there insurance relevant to that country that you're moving to, and can you use it worldwide? Because if you then go to America and your insurance is not covered there and you have to go to hospital, the bill is going to be really expensive. So be mindful, and if need be, take out additional insurance when you are traveling to other countries. Number 5, pack essentials. And as I probably mentioned before, everything becomes an essential when you want to move abroad. You want to take everything in the kitchen sink. Packing essentials, so it's going to depend on where you're going, really. When I knew I was going to be going to China and I was going to be going to Shanghai, I knew that I needed pretty much the same kind of clothing I would wear if I was in England, because Shanghai has winter. It's very, very, very cold. Actually, I think it's colder in Shanghai during winter time than it is in England. So I had winter, autumn, spring and summer clothes. Here, it gets chilly in the mornings. It gets very chilly in the mornings. So, I have heating on in the mornings, and at night I find that it's a bit cold. But I don't need heavy winter clothes here. And in summer it's hot. In summer in China it's extremely hot. So it really will depend on where you're going. It will also depend on the access you have on where you're going as well. So do your research on where you're going and the climate and access to clothes as well. If you're able to get additional things, if you need that when you're there, when you're abroad. Look at toiletries, skincare and hair care. As a black girl, as a black woman, and natural hair, natural skin, I want to know that I can get these products. And if I can't get these products, which I couldn't initially get them, and some of them I couldn't get, I brought over from England to China 6 months worth of toiletries. So make sure you're checking. As I said, when I was watching YouTube videos, to find out about what was available and what I needed and what was essential, etc. Toiletries was big on my list. Do I need to take my oils and my hair products, etc.? And the answer was yes. If you've got your favorite things that no matter where you are in the world you can't do without, take them. I would take them. Underwear, clothes, especially if you're tall. Like, I couldn't get trousers in China. If I went to Zara, for instance, I could get trousers, but long sleeve tops, shirts, I couldn't get them. I didn't really need to buy them, but I'd have to go to places like Zara or Abercrombie and Fitch, which was my only Uniqlo. They were my only real options to get clothes. And Uniqlo actually in China doesn't offer the long options for sleeves and trousers if you're tall. Medication and supplements, make sure that you pack them. Obviously you should know that you would put your medication in your carry-on. What I would do if I was carrying medication or supplements, I would purchase the supplements and get requests from my doctor, additional medication, so I could keep receipts, keep the prescription, or keep a letter from my doctor with the medication and with the supplements sealed, excuse me, and make sure that I declare them, especially if it's a large quantity. That is what I would do, because some countries can be quite difficult when they see you coming in with lots of quantities of things. When I went to, I think I was stopping in Hong Kong actually for a couple of days from England, and I was bringing over lots of toiletries and things that I wanted, and I have so much bubble wrap, and everything in the bag was bubble wrapped, and that looked so suspect. It looked so suspect, and they pulled me over because my bag goes through the scanner, and they pulled me to the side and opened my bag, and it was just a bag full of, it looked wrong, but everything, was sealed and had prices on, and, but it looked wrong. So just be very mindful. If you've got lots of medication, drugs on you or supplements on you, and there's no receipt, there's nothing, could cause a little bit of problems for you. And finally, for packing, essentially, is plugs, batteries, cables, power banks, chargers. Make sure that you have those things. Make sure the ones that you have are working, and where possible, if you can take, especially mobile phone cables, get one or two spare. Again, depending on where you're going, they're not readily available in every country. We make this assumption that we can just go to the store and everything is there. Like England, you go to Tesco or one of the largest supermarkets, you can get absolutely everything that you need in that one place. And it's not the same in every country. So, number 6, visit the doctor. Get a physical. I would suggest getting a physical, speaking to your doctor. Some people don't, it's not essential, but if maybe you probably haven't been well in the past year or so, go to your doctor, speak to them, have them just check you over. Nothing stressful, and just get a good bill of health, especially if you're going to fly long haul, just to check that you're okay. It's no harm. So I think that's a good idea to get checked by your doctor before you go. If you do have medication, speak to your doctor about him or her prescribing you enough medication for you to travel with, as I mentioned before. Get any certificates that you need, any vaccinations that you want or are required to have before you go to your new country. Get those done in advance. Copies of any recent surgeries, injuries. 2 years before I moved to China, about 2.5 years before I moved to China, I had an injury on my left shoulder during a training ride for a triathlon, and I ended up with a hole in my rotator cuff, and I still got the referral letter, for the physiotherapist with all the information on. So I just keep a copy of that, and it helped me. I say it helped me. It was good information, because when I then had an accident in China where I dislocated the same shoulder, at least I could share my past history with my physio. And yes, just make sure that you've got enough medication to last you. Number 7, money. Really, really important. For me, I think it's really important. Pay all your bills if you can before you leave. And if you can't pay all of your bills, and you know that when you move to your new country, you're going to send over money, make sure that sending over money is not going to cost you a lot of money to do that. So ideally, pay all your bills before you move. If you've got an up-and-coming house payment, pay that bill too, so at least your tenant can come in and just start from fresh. Contact all the utility companies and ask them to send your statements and bills via email, and arrange e-statements. Set up telephone banking and online banking. It will really help you, so you can keep track of your money, and you can also continue to pay bills at home, unless you are depending on a salary from here, and then you need to open up a bank account from overseas, and then the process is a little bit more complicated. Take money with you. I've watched vlogs since I've been here about people moving to Africa, and they have moved with pretty much nothing and struggled whilst they've been here. I would not advise anybody to just get up with just the plane ticket and maybe a couple of pounds in their pockets and go. I know people do it, and a lot of people survive, but for me, I think that times are a little bit different. Even every year times are getting a little bit different, that we should just be a little bit more mindful, because emergencies happen, things change, and we have to rely on ourselves, and be able to get back home if need be, or pay for medical care if need be as well. So do save your money, save enough. I would say save enough that you can get a plane ride back home. Maybe look at the most expensive ticket going back to your country and see if you can save as much of that amount as possible and keep that as your emergency funds. Learn about the currency. So learn about what the value of the currency is. You can do that on the plane. Download an app regarding currency, converting, etc., and just read and learn about it on the plane. So when you get off the plane, you need to buy a SIM card or buy some food. It's easy for you to what the exchange rate is, and you don't get ripped off. The biggest thing as well is that you will not get ripped off if you know how to manage the new currency that you're going to be using. I briefly mentioned it about bank transfers. My example is when I was in China, the bank transferring process is very, very long and just very tedious. It's not very expensive to send money back home to England, and it's quite, you do it today and it's in there tomorrow. Once you go through this process, you provide all the paperwork, because a lot of paperwork is required for each transaction. It's quite swift. Here, it's much more expensive. It's $50 to send money back to my bank account in England. So understanding how you're going to manage your money, and when you're going to send money home, if that's what you intend to do whilst living, and if you are going to be living and working abroad. So be mindful of that. Number 8, VPNs. Do you need a VPN? I learned about VPN on YouTube because I was moving to China. If you need a VPN, I would highly, highly recommend that you download that VPN before you leave your country. Check out if you need to use a VPN in the country that you're going to. When I moved to Shanghai, I was using Astro, and that was really bad. It was not good. No, I wouldn't recommend Astro. And then when somebody recommended NordVPN, I believe it is, and that's what I was using NordVPN, which wasn't so great, and then someone recommended Astral, and that was fine. So do look at different options. I pay for the year, and I pay for both services. So do look at the options that are available. Number 9, shipping. And when I mean shipping, whether you're sending things by boat or by air freight, okay? So boat or plane are your options if you're going to be sending over boxes. So if you've got a family or things, work things, whatever it may be, you're sending things, boat or plane is usually the options. Who will be paying for it? Will it be you paying for it? Will it be your employer paying for it? If your employer is paying for it or giving you an allowance, make sure that you are aware how much that allowance is and what the process is. Do you pay for it first, or do you need to provide the receipts, or will they send the money? Whatever it may be, confirm all that information with them. Get 3 quotes. 3 quotes for the plane, 3 quotes for the boat, and then decide. Find out also about the whole process in terms of packing, storing, and sending away. The packing, you might have a company come in, you can do it yourself, but what will happen, the next process or step will be is that someone will come and collect your boxes, and then they will take them and possibly store them. I'm not sure that they'll go the same day. It depends who you're using and where you are. But in my case, I packed my own things. I wrote lists of what was in each box, detailed lists. I've also asked the company, what I wasn't allowed to send in the boxes. They collected my boxes 3 days before I was due to leave to go to England. They stored my boxes for free for a month, but it was actually about 6 weeks because my boxes were due to go to Shanghai, where they would leave and make their way on the plane to come to Africa. But because Shanghai was locked down, nothing was going in, so they took them and stored them in another location. I paid for premium service for my boxes to be flown to Africa, which is a 7 to 10 day service. DHL came to collect them and FedEx brought them to me. So find out all that, as much information as you can. Also find out who the receiver is. Is it going to be an agent? Can you access an agent? How much are the agent fees? What is the process once your boxes have arrived? You can also track, I know with myself, with FedEx, I was able to track where my packages, my boxes were, which is really helpful. Find out if there's an agent that can help you. Find out how much the fees will be, if there will be any fees for customs, if there are also storage fees as well, because they can be quite sneaky and be storing your things and then tell you, no, we need to store them because we need to put them in line to be checked. So find out all that information first. And yeah, make sure you choose a shipping company that is really able to communicate with you well. You know, even though I was in China, the company I used, they were really good. I would use them again. They were good. Number 10, important details. So phone numbers, emails and passwords. Really important information that you need to have. I dropped my phone. I did a vlog on the disaster I had in London Heathrow on my way to China, and I dropped my phone and it broke, and I was without a phone for about 3 weeks. So really important to make sure that you have phone numbers, passwords, email addresses, all stored and easy access to them. Number 11, the culture and the language. Make sure, well, not make sure, but really try and do some research on the culture of the country that you're going to. Sometimes you can read about a country, get there, and it's a little bit different. So spend some time learning about the culture, cultural norms, how people dress, especially women, what's expected. Find out about, the nightlife there, the social life there, and expectations there. Learn a bit of the language. Even if it's just general phrases, I would learn those phrases, because then you become used to hearing them and then more confident in using them. So spend some time learning those new skills. Number 12, ask a native. And I say that because I made the mistake of asking another expat before I moved here about the weather. And he told me, oh, you just need a light jacket. You just need a light jacket. And actually, I needed about 3 jumpers and a big coat and a hat for me, because I don't like the cold. So ask a native. If you can connect with people on Instagram, Facebook. I'm not too familiar about Facebook because I don't really use it. I don't use it at all. But certainly Instagram. Instagram's really great at finding people and services. So connect with people on social media. Ask them things about the climate. Ask them things about, where can I do yoga? Where can I go cycling? I want to train for triathlon. I want to do photography. Anything. And they are the best people to speak to because they live there. That's their home. And you're going there to try and integrate and fit in and enjoy yourself as well. So ask a native. Number 13, passports. Make sure you have one. If you don't have one, I would really advise that you start the application process to get a passport. If you do have a passport, make sure that your passport is up to date. Make sure it has enough pages. Make sure it has enough pages for the visa and stamps. In China, they use 1 page for the visa, 1 entire page for the visa. So do be mindful of traveling abroad and you don't have enough pages or your passport's not up to date. It could cause you a little bit of problems and a little bit of restrictions. So make sure those things are checked ASAP. Number 14, and this tip or this point affects everybody in the world living and breathing right now, because everybody living and breathing went through the same thing all at the same time. And tip number 14 is to prepare for another lockdown. And I mean that by saying all the skills, all the lessons we all learned from the recent lockdown, and some people are still in lockdown. I know, I left China in lockdown and they are still in lockdown. But I learned a lot of lessons from that time. So I think it's really important that we take those lessons and keep them in our mental Rolodex, so we know what to do if we find ourselves in a situation where we're in a country and it locks down, or the world locks down again. We know how to communicate with our friends and family. We know how to access food. We know how to access medication. We know how to take care of our mental health. So prepare yourself for a lockdown. Are you ready to just say, I'm going to leave all my belongings and just go? Or I'm going to leave all my belongings with someone upstairs that I don't really know, I only really say hello to them, but I'm going to trust them and then go. Do I have the money to just go? Because the airfare might have tripled in price, and when I do go, can I sustain myself until I make further arrangements? Make sure you have masks with you, because there's still some countries and even planes where you have to wear a mask. So preparedness is really important for the future. Be mindful, even more so for the future when you're moving abroad. But be prepared. We may never experience this again, but be prepared. And number 15, say goodbye to everybody. Have dinner with your friends, spend time with them, take pictures, enjoy every moment with them. It's goodbye, but it's not forever. And enjoy being an expat. It's the best thing ever. It comes with its challenges, Sometimes you can be homesick, but I wouldn't change my experience. I visited many countries as a result. I've met so many people as a result. I've grown in many areas as a result of making the decision to move and live and work abroad. So those were my 15 tips. I hope you found them interesting and useful. If you are moving abroad, congratulations and enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and thank you for your time. Bye bye.